It's Mike Francesa's Football Sunday on the Fan.
From the gun, McCown is on time. Jermaine Kearse breaks away. Now it's a foot race. Kearse looking for the angle. And he's brought down at the 5. 14th play of the drive. 3rd and goal. Inside the 1. McCown lunging his body. The officials will peel off the pile. Touchdown, Jets.
Smith takes the shotgun snap. Blitz is on. He's under pressure. Gets sacked. Fumbles the football. It's loose. Ball on the ground, and the Raiders have it. Far back to throw. Under the middle. Throws it. Completes it. And then Holton fumbled it. And then he gets it back and rolls into the end zone. Now, when he caught it, did he break the plane? Yeah, he'd already broken the plane. And he had it secure.
I met this morning with Jerry Reese and Ben McAdoo and relieved both of them of their responsibilities.
Here's your host, Mike Francesa.
Coming to you live from Mulcahy's on this Sunday morning as we get ready for a Week 14 football Sunday. It's good to be home, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you, everybody. And it's great to be back on Football Sunday. This was my home every Sunday for 30 years. I've missed the Football Sunday show terribly this year. There were a lot of reasons why we didn't do it, but I wanted to do one more, and I'm glad everybody's here, and thank you, and hello and good morning. And it is a wild morning because it's such a different Sunday. First of all, this is a crazy week for me with everything that's going to go on. The show we're going to do Thursday at the Paley Center in New York, and then the last show, which will be on Friday. It's been a crazy couple of weeks with interviews and just everything that's gone on, appearances from the Tiller Center a couple of weeks ago to everything as we finish up now. The response, you guys have been great everywhere I've gone. The fans have been unbelievable. The response here this morning is tremendous. I mean, the place is jammed, so thanks for coming out, and it's great again to get in and do a Sunday morning show. And for all the folks who were on their way, as I just saw buses here leaving for Giant Stadium and for MetLife, it's going to be a crazy day there today because this is one of the weirder Sundays the Giants have had in a very long time. I mean, everything that's gone on with that franchise, to have a week be as important for the franchise as I think this one is, for the response that'll be there for Eli, everything that's gone on with Eli in the last couple of weeks, with the coaching staff, with Spags now and what he's going to try and prove here over these last 4 games, and even to see just how many Giant fans versus how many Cowboy fans will be in the building today will be very interesting because, you know, for weeks we heard only that everyone who called, Giant fan after Giant fan, said they were dumping their seats and selling them to Cowboy fans. So let's see today just how that building is divided. I'm sure John Mara will be very interested in that. I think all Giant fans will be very interested in that. And it'll be interesting to see how the Giants respond here. I think they very much want to put the Cowboys out of their misery today and end their season. And I just think they want to win and just put all the bad taste of the last couple of weeks behind them. But it's, as I said, it's good to be here at Mulcahy's. This is the only place we would do it. A lot of places wanted the last Football Sunday show, but the only place we thought of doing it was right here. So that's where we wanted to be. We thank John Murray for his hospitality. We got a lot of family and friends here. Unfortunately, my wife's not here. Ro, we send her our best because she's recovering from surgery, so we send her all our love today. So she wasn't able to get out of the house yet, so she's fine. She's just had some surgery, and she's a little under the weather, so she's getting better. So she's home, and the kids are here. Everybody's here. So got a great show for you. We even have some special guests later in the show. So we got a lot to do here on this Football Sunday. And again, I'm very interested in what the response will be today. You know, the Giant game was supposed to be a 4 o'clock game. It's the plight of the Giants this year that they can't even get in the 4 o'clock window now, no less the primetime window. That's what happens when you're 2-10. But this game, if they had known it, they would have kept it. As a matter of fact, they would have loved to have it any time because there's so much drama and so many storylines swirling around the Giants and the Cowboys. The Cowboys, because of everything that's going on with Jerry Jones, what's going on with their team and their players' reaction to their head coach. The Cowboys think they're alive at 6-6, but if you look at it realistically and realize what a terrible loss that was for the Cowboys when Atlanta won on Thursday night, because Atlanta is sitting there now at 8-5, has tiebreakers over basically most of the NFC. They can win the division if they win the last 3 games. If they sweep and they still have a game with the Saints in New Orleans, they still have a game with Carolina to finish in Week 17. If they win their last 3, they win the division. But they have tiebreakers over the Cowboys, the Packers, the Seahawks, and the Lions if they tie with them. So they have a lot of different ways to get into the playoffs. You have Seattle sitting there also at 8-4. So if you're a Dallas or you're a Green Bay, which is trying to win today in Cleveland, which shouldn't be too hard because they're playing the Browns, and the Browns have really moved into historic proportions. The Browns are the first team in the history of the NFL to lose 30 out of 31 games. They've lost 30 of their last 31 games. So if they win, it'll be a surprise. But if the Packers get to 7-6, they're going to put Aaron Rodgers back in next week. But even at 10-6, I don't think they'll be able to get to the playoffs because of the way the tiebreakers work and the way Seattle and Atlanta and New Orleans and Carolina are set up. So it's going to be very difficult. But right now they're trying to stay alive. They're trying to stay alive in Cleveland. The Cowboys trying to stay alive here. The Jets will be out in Denver, and what a wacky season it's been, because who would have thought the Jets would be favored? And give the Jets a hand. They've had a good season. They really have. They played well. And who would ever thought the Jets would be favored in Denver? I mean, what would have been the odds on that? And Denver's lost 8 games in a row and has scored only 20 points once in those 8 games. So it has been a pitiful season for the Broncos, a lot like the Giants season. They're at 3-9, but the Giants here, of course, today at 2-10, trying to see if they can send Eli home a winner as he starts a new streak today after the last streak went by the boards. And now Spags tries to see if he can put together a resume. The best thing Spags could do is win some games. If he does that, maybe he's a candidate. We'll see. The Giants out looking for a general manager right now. They'll have the general manager help pick the coach, and that's how they'll get this whole thing rolling as far as their future, which has taken a very strange turn. In training camp, I didn't think there was a more confident team than the Giants this year. They thought they were going to have a great team. They thought they had overcome their offensive line problems, which they clearly hadn't. And the injuries and everything that's happened to that team from Beckham's preseason injury on down has been just a disastrous season. So they'll get a chance to make a very high draft pick, which I think will change the direction of the franchise. So a lot of things are going to change here in the next couple of weeks for them. But we come down the stretch now as we get close to the holidays, and it's going to be obviously a big week for us. I'll also get into a little bit about this craziness with the Yankees. How many Yankee fans here? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want Stanton. I think it's a bad deal. I think it's they don't need him. I mean, sometimes more isn't more. Sometimes more is less, and I'll get into it. But you know what? The idea that you just pile these guys on top of each other. The Yankees had plenty of right-handed power. They did. I know they got them for nothing. But you know what? It's going to throw a lot of things that they had planned into it's going to be a very different team than they had hoped for or they had planned for right now. This team is going to take a completely different feel. It's going to have a different feel. And remember, it isn't always having MVPs and home run hitters and guys who win home run crowns that produces championships, because the great Yankee teams that we watched from 96 to 2000 didn't have any MVPs, didn't have any home run champions, didn't have guys who hit 40 home runs, had a bunch of guys that knew how to win. That's what they had. And I just think this is a little bit of the wrong direction, but I know I'll be in the minority about that, but I don't care. I just think that it's in the long term, it's a mistake, but we'll get into that. I know a lot of people will disagree. Listen, hard to pass up a player for what they're getting him for. And Jeter got boxed into a very, very tough corner. He had trades for him, which Stanton wouldn't agree to. He obviously wanted to get rid of the salary. He felt he had to get rid of the salary. But it should tell you something when you dump a player like that. Maybe he's got a different idea about him. But it's going to change very quickly what this Yankee team was about and what they were building with the young kids when you bring a star of that magnitude and pay him $300 million and bring him into the fold. It's going to change the entire feel of that team immediately. It's a very, very different team that's going to be on the field next year. We'll get to that. We'll get to all the injuries, weather. We'll go through we'll get some picks, 2-minute drill, all that. So, again, it's great to be here this morning. It's nice to be doing a Sunday show again. I wanted to do one before I said goodbye. I thank you all for coming out now that it's kind of wintertime here, a couple of weeks before Christmas, and we'll get it all rolling right after this.